wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. When I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. If I get drunk, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who gets drunk next to you. And if I haver, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who's havering to you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more to be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. When I'm working, yes, I know I'm gonna be the man who's working hard for you. And the money.
You know, I didn't always love the song, but then my sweet little sister Sherry decided she really liked that song by the Proclaimers, and ding dang it, gosh darn it, I have loved it ever since. And believe you me, I would walk 500 miles every day if I could see that little angel's face again, let me tell you. But we are doing today on our All Request Friday, because we have spent so much time this week on the show talking about transportation, our roads, and how safe or unsafe they are. So, modes of transportation, and I do truly enjoy driving and the art of it, if you will. But I love walking. It's one of my favorite ways to get around. And so I'm going to be by the Proclaimers is my entry for the Modes of Transportation All Request Friday today. If you would like to hear a song of your choosing that features a mode of transportation, well, gosh darn it, you just let us know. Drop me an email, mike@570news.com, or when you call in, or just give us a call, because phone lines open the minute we begin the show. Jen would be more than happy to take your request. We'll play as many as we can before the show is done this afternoon at 1. I think all of us, right? We were all at that Alan Cross show last night at Maxwell's in Waterloo, and I think we were also all over at Morty's for dinner beforehand. My goodness gracious, we should just rename that place Cheers, or we'll just have a cheers together at Morty's. It was like, I don't remember the last time I've been out and saw so many of you, but it was great. Where else would you rather spend a Thursday evening than in a friendly neighborhood bar like Morty's? Classic institution in Waterloo, of course, and then over to Maxwell's to see Alan Cross on stage. Yes, that Alan Cross, the guy that knows more about music and or radio than I could possibly ever learn, but tried to learn as much from him as I could last night. It was great to see so many of you there enjoying Alan Cross's talk as well. He started with a story about Courtney Love that involved him being invited to Courtney Love's hotel room and leaving only with a pile of herbal supplements for his wife. And then towards the end, a one-on-one drum lesson from none other than Ringo Starr, and so much more in between and around those stories. But it was a great night at Maxwell's, and great to see everybody who works at and keeps us fed and watered at Morty's, and furthermore, so many of you who were there took the time to say hi. It was a great night out. Who knew Thursdays in the first week of September could be so much fun? But let me tell you this, though. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'll tell you right now, on the way to, and I said yesterday when I started the show with a story about an interaction on the roads that I was going to let it go after yesterday's story, because I had that great story out walking Rosie the pandemic pup when somebody wanted to back into their driveway, and we were all just getting along fine and looking out for one another. And then I went to, on my way to Waterloo yesterday, I used Riverbend Drive, and so I'm coming up Riverbend to the corner of Lancaster and Riverbend where it turns into Bridgeport Road. So you got the Timmy's there, the gas station. I think you know where I'm at. And I'm coming through the intersection, so from Riverbend onto Bridgeport Road. And the traffic from Bridgeport Road wanting to make their left-hand turn onto Lancaster Street to head down towards Bridgeport. And let me tell you, as I was coming through the intersection, as God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. And this person almost like honest to goodness, almost turned right into me. I had my Camry, those ABS brakes were working just fine because I had to hammer on those binders and swerve a little bit to my right to avoid the almost inevitable collision. And it just reminded me, look, it was not a fun feeling. It was not a fun feeling at all. The speeds were nowhere near great enough to do any damage physically, I don't think. But we all know the pain in the butt that would have resulted. And I have no idea. How this vehicle at 5:15, 5:20 in the afternoon failed to see me coming through the intersection. Plenty more vehicles had already gone straight through. Somebody was just not paying attention. But it reminded me, and lucky as I was, and 100% at fault would the other driver have been. But it just reminded me of what we've been talking about on the show this week. It takes all of us, right? And even though the person making that left-hand turn 100% was in the wrong, would have been faulted 6 days a week and twice on Sundays for making that left-hand turn. I had the opportunity, by paying attention while I was out there, to avoid what was almost inevitable. Whew. Got lucky on that one, but we're all still here to share the story with you on the show.
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do.
All right, let's get to your Farwell Show 5 for this Friday morning, the 5th of September. Number 1, it is decision day for your new garbage bin. Okay, the bin's not deciding, but you have to decide on the bin because, as you know, the region is moving to a new automated collection program next March, and you have to decide by today which size garbage bin you would like. You can make your choice. There's an online cart selection tool at regionofwaterloo.ca. If you do not submit a choice, you will be issued the bigger bin by default. Number 2, our airport in Breslau is looking 20 years into the future and sees extended runways and a new terminal in its plans. However, YKF has dropped the idea for a third runway being added to the airport. The expansion would come as we approach 1 million annual passengers or more. Costs estimated at more than $600 million. The region of Waterloo International Airport expects to see 425,000 passengers this year. The growth plan comes to a committee meeting next week and will include public consultation. Number 3, on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, the city of Waterloo has opened a temporary leash-free dog park in Waterloo Park. The fully fenced area is near the Westmount Road entrance to the park and measures almost 1,700 square meters in size. The temporary park will remain open until Waterloo can finish construction of a permanent leash-free park. Number 4, the big pink truck is back on the road. BW Feed and Supply in New Hamburg debuted the pink feed delivery truck last year to support a driver's daughter who was diagnosed with breast cancer. BW donates $1 for every ton of feed delivered on the pink truck. They're also hosting a Touch a Truck event tomorrow, giving you the chance to explore big trucks up close. The fundraiser runs tomorrow from 10 until 2 at BW Feed and Supply on Wilmot East Hope Road. And number 5, on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, porch music in the Berg will fill the air on Sunday throughout New Hamburg, starting at the historic feed mill at 183 Mill Street. The free event will also make stops at Putticombe House, the Imperial Restaurant, and Kirkpatrick Park. The concerts featuring local bands and musicians are being presented by Link, LYNC, Love Your Neighbor Communities. Donations are being accepted to Link's Mill Block Community Development and Intergenerational Mixed Income Affordable Housing Community. So that's Sunday in the Berg, and that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Friday morning. Just before your not $1 million question that we always like to have fun with on Fridays, Kathy is on the phone with us this morning. Kathy, good morning.
Well, good morning. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Well, I'm pretty great, too.
Good.
Actually, I just have a couple things that happened to me today and one yesterday. And I did try to call yesterday, but you were talking too much and I had to go to work. I'm sorry.
No, you know what, Kathy? It's fair. It's fair comment. I do talk a lot.
Well,
Okay.
And the best part was you said you don't want the government to be your parent. I thought, no, because your parents lived through probably HE double hockey sticks, and so you don't want anybody else to
Hey,
take over
what are you
that.
trying to say there, Kath? Huh? You saying I put
Oh,
my parents through the ringer, eh?
I would say probably. Not saying I'm for sure, but I would kind of put it out there. Anyway, two things. So
Okay.
There was a big piece of metal on 7-8 right at the 401 yesterday. It fell off a truck or something. I don't know. I almost hit it. Couldn't see it because two cars were in front of me moved. I barely moved. So I called 911. Okay? I'm put on hold. I'm going, pardon? And not on hold. It kept giving a recording. You have reached emergency services. Please wait till an operator can take your call. I'm going, okay. 3 minutes on hold. And I'm thinking, I'm glad I'm not dying because I would be dead. But it just kept going. Finally, I hung up. I thought, okay. And so about, I'd say 25 minutes later, I got a call back asking if I was okay.
Well, I mean, at least there was follow-up.
I didn't even know what to do with that. I thought, okay. And then, because somebody could have got hurt. Like, I'm lucky I didn't hit it, to be honest. Because there were cars in front of me. I couldn't see it. It was big. Probably 10 feet by 8 feet.
Sure.
We're not talking
Yep.
4 by 6.
I got you.
And then just now, I'm going down 7-8 on my way to work. And this car books by me. I was going almost 120. I was standing still compared to him. There was a policeman on the highway with a speed trap. Nothing. Went right by him.
Come on, had to be looking the other way. There's no way that guy. Because hang on a second. You just said, Kathy, that you were doing 120 on the 7-8?
Yeah, I was.
That's a 90, Kathy. That's a 90.
I know.
Okay.
I know, and I was shit.
You
I'm gonna
lead
get
foot.
caught. Yeah.
You
Oh my God, I'm gonna
lead
get caught.
foot, Kathy.
I know. And I was the slowest one in my lane.
Well, then obviously the police officer couldn't cast a wide enough net. That's where we need photo radar. Hey, dear Region of Waterloo, put the photo radar on Highway 78. You'll catch Kathy every day.
You're right, because I'm going that 1 kilometer over at my school zones dropping my grandson off, and I'm sure I'm going to get a ticket for that.
$120 and a 90, Kathy. That is offside, young lady.
But the guy beside me literally had to be 140, and the one in front of him, who knows?
Well,
like, he was past him. So I'm thinking, okay. And as soon as I saw the car, I went, oh, shit, I better slow down.
Kathy.
Whoops, I shouldn't have said that.
You said that twice now. I'm going to give you one more.
I know.
3 strikes, you're out here.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So I just thought, okay, we're really, doing this speed thing at the school zones, but I'm sorry, we're missing something here.
That's exactly what I've been saying.
2 days that I thought, oh, these are events that Mike needs to hear about. So if you're in a panic, don't call 911 right now because they're busy. I don't know.
All right, Kathy.
Anyway, it kind of made my day, and I thought it kind of would give you a chuckle because when I first got it, I went, what?
Oh, I'm chuckling all right at somebody doing 120 and a 90. Shame on you.
I know.
Shame
Thank
on
goodness.
you. Yeah.
Thank goodness. All right, have a good weekend, and slow down.
There you go. Kathy hung up like that. Slow down. Hey, Kathy, take your own advice. 120 in a 90 is a big, fat no-no. Anyway, there you go. I'm glad Kathy got her chance. This is maybe why it was a good thing. I might have lost my license from this show yesterday with that foul language. I think we got the button in time that it didn't make it through. If it did, my apologies. I pushed the button. I really did. Nonetheless, when we call, when you call and we have conversations, we'll just try to keep it radio friendly so that we can maintain our license, keep it in good standing, and then continue these conversations. All right. Something we do on Friday mornings. It's always fun. And if you're ready for that, having a little bit of fun on a Friday, let's get to our not $1 million question. It's your not $1 million question. Because the first time I did this, I made the mistake of calling it a $1 million question. And one of you called with your answer and said, if I get it right, am I getting $1 million? Well, of course not. And I think you knew I was being sarcastic, but I should be careful because you might hold me to something like that. So you don't get $1 million if you get the answer to this question right. However, what you will get is our undying admiration for the brilliance that you bring to this show each and every day. So your not $1 million question for this Friday is as follows. This happens to you on average, 21 times every week. What is it? What is it that happens to you on average 21 times a week? You think you know the answer to our not $1 million question? Give me a call and let me know. What happens to you on average 21 times every week? This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Trains and boats and planes are passing by. They mean a trip to Paris or Rome for someone else, but not for me. The trains and the boats and planes took you away, away from me. We were so in love and high above. We had a star to wish up our wish, and dreams come true, but not for me. The trains and the boats and planes.
It is the Box Tops and Trains and Boats and Planes. That is George's request on this All Request Friday, where the songs will feature modes of transportation. George covered a whole lot of them in one song right there. Trains and Boats and Planes from the Box Tops on this All Request Friday. Fridays also mean our not $1 million question. We have a little bit of fun seeing if you can come up with the answer. The question today is, this happens to you on average 21 times per week. What is this thing that happens to you on average 21 times per week? If it's any help at all, I would submit to you that this happens to me way more often than 21 times a week. And if you know me even a little bit, you'll understand. I'll give you the answer before 10, but I love taking your guesses as to what it is that happens to you roughly 21 times every week. 519-570-2545, star 570, or 1-800-570-5715. If you think you know the answer, we'll be really impressed if you know what happens on average 21 times per week. Francis, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Of course, I have snacks in between, but I'll say I have 3 meals a day, and 3 times 7 is 21.
I'll tell you that. You know what? That's interesting. So, what happens to you on average 21 times a week is that you eat
3 meals a day, but I also have snacks in between.
Well, so what's happening then? Are you hungry 21 times a week?
Well, it's something to do.
What are you doing today, Francis? While I'm filling time, just eating some food.
Yeah, well, I got all my garden stuff put away, and I got all the hatches batted down for the high winds that they're talking about.
Oh, my goodness, they are talking about some high winds, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's always windy here in Listowel.
It's always sunny in Philadelphia, and it's always windy in Listy.
Yes.
Francis, listen, that was a really good guess, and you know, you're kind of in the ballpark, but it's not the answer we're looking for.
Yeah, it blew away. God bless.
You too. Thank you very much. The answer blew away. Just like Bob Dylan once sang, right? Except it was blowing in the wind. The answer, this happens to you on average 21 times a week. What is it? George, do you think you know?
I'm guessing it's maybe yawn.
Wow. Yawn. I bet you people yawn 21 times a day listening to this show, George.
Some people do.
Not the answer we're looking for, but a really good guess. Thanks for playing.
All right.
All right. Enjoy your day. You know what? Of all the things that crossed my mind, see, I get the advantage, of course, of knowing the answer, but yawning did not occur to me. That's a pretty good guess. Happening on average 21 times a week. Kathy, do you know the answer? Hello, Kath. Hi.
I was going to say yawning.
You were going to say yawning too?
I was.
Interesting. What made you think of yawning?
Because I yawn a lot.
But Kath, come on, not while listening to this show, right?
Definitely not while
girl.
listening to the show. Never. Never listening to the show.
You are good for my heart. I appreciate you. Not the answer we're looking for, but thanks for playing along.
Okay.
All right, thanks. You have a great day. Good to hear from you today. Maureen, you are next. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, since Francis talks about the meals, and how about brushing your teeth? Because you're supposed to brush your teeth after every meal.
Maureen, why do you want to make me feel worse about my oral hygiene? Why do you want to be that way? Come on, Maureen. Not the answer we're looking for. And I'll tell you what, definitely not 21 times a week for this cowboy.
Yeah,
Shame
I
on
don't
me.
brush my teeth 21 times a week either. Because you're supposed to do it before bedtime, too. So I don't know.
Before bedtime, I do it.
Yeah.
Other than that, every once in a while, I'll do a midday brush, but it's rare.
Yeah, well, you're not at home all the time to brush your teeth. You could floss them.
Oh, don't even get me started. Did I tell you already? Bad oral hygiene over here, Maureen. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for the call.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Good to hear from you. Do not take any dental advice or oral hygiene advice from me. Just real quick. I've probably mentioned this before. Like I have two really irrational, I don't know if they're irrational, but I never want to be the smelly guy, good or bad. I don't want to be the person who overpowers the room. And I am honestly afraid of bad breath. Like if halitosis ever sets in, I'm doomed. So I do my regular routine, and mouthwash is involved. Like anything I can do. I keep some gum in the car just in case, Anyway, not brushing your teeth. I just went on that little tangent because it made me think of my fear of greeting you one day with bad breath. Oh, my gosh. And as I sip my coffee and talk to you, at least we have the microphone in between us. Terry, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mike. Quickly for my guests, a quick suggestion for Music Fridays. How about all Rush songs or songs with colors in it, like Red Corvette or Black is Black?
It's funny you said that, because I also thought when I went with modes of transportation today, it's because we talked about roads so much, but it started with right turns on red lights, and I was going to use red as the theme. So maybe someday we'll do that. Good idea.
Yeah.
Colors.
Yeah. I'll take it from Nate's turn because he's the man with the suggestions.
All right. So on average, this happens to you 21 times a week. What is it?
Okay. It doesn't apply to me or you, Mike, but you said most people. I'm going to say comb your hair.
Why do you think that doesn't apply to me, Terry?
I've seen you, Mike, and you've seen me, so we're kind of on the same boat there. But you figure if you do have hair, I mean, you're figuring twice a day for sure. Morning, day, and maybe once in the middle of the day. So that's my guess. Probably wrong, but
all right,
that's what I'm putting out there.
It's a good guess. It is not right, but I like I like your thinking on it, Terry.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
All right,
you said most of us.
That's
okay,
right.
Thanks.
All right, appreciate it. I also said that this happens to me likely more than 21 times a week. So that's a little bit of a hint. If you know me a little bit, this will make more sense when I give you the answer, which I will do before 10 this morning. This happens to you on average 21 times every week. What is this thing that happens to us about 21 times a week? I'll get you the answer before 10 this morning. Right now, we'll move on and get into our conversations. And this one I'm interested to have because of the way it has played out. A counselor in Cambridge, you may have heard, thought about bringing forward a motion looking at some broader rent controls in the city. But before the meeting, the counselor withdrew the motion for some reconsideration. Is there a Senate in Cambridge for some sober second thought? I like the way this all went down, though, and we'll find out the why behind it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
For the man, too much for the man, he couldn't make it. So he's leaving the life he's come to know. Ooh. He said he's going back to find, ooh, what's left of his world, the world he left behind not so long ago. He's leaving on that midnight train to Georgia.
Gladys Knight and the Pips. It's by request from Mary as we play modes of transportation requests on this All Request Friday. And our good friend and local musician, Danny Michelle, also does a song called Midnight Train. Not to Georgia, just a midnight train, which I would recommend to you as well, worth a listen. Modes of transportation, our All Request Friday theme on the program today. I mentioned before that news update with Christine Clark that you may have heard of a Cambridge City Councillor bringing forward a notice of motion asking that the province reinstate some rules that would limit rent increases on all rental units. And Cambridge, as a municipality, would advocate for that by this motion. But before the motion got on the floor at Cambridge Council's meeting earlier this week, it was withdrawn by the councillor who intended to bring it forward. So let's get to the bottom of the story. That councillor is Ward 6's Adam Cooper, and he joins us for a chat. Adam, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, thank you. How are you?
I'm having a fantastic Friday. Thanks for having me on here. I always look forward to our chats.
Yeah, as do I, and in particular this one, because I like the way this is playing out, and we'll get into that. But first off, what was it that inspired you to put the notice of motion on the agenda originally? What was the idea here?
Well, basically, I mean, it's something that's been on my mind for a while. The complete lack of protection for anybody that is in a rental unit that became a rental unit after, I think it's November 2018. People that are in units that became units before that had the luxury of rent control, where the province legislated, they would put limits every year. It would change a bit. But, so I think right now it's just over 2%, the permitted amount that landlords can raise it. And then back in 2018, Doug Ford, to encourage development, completely removed any kind of protection there. And the fact is, for renters, I mean, a lot of people have lost their housing security. There's a lot of anxiety based around the idea that at any given time, or once through the year, a landlord can potentially, in these units that are affected, raise the rent by any amount that they like. And obviously, I mean, if you're the person that's in that position as a tenant, that's not a fun situation to be in. It can be used maliciously, and I have no way want to vilify landlords. It can be used maliciously to remove people, and I just felt that there needs to be some level of protection for renters.
Makes a lot of sense on the surface, Adam, and I think a lot of people can get behind that, especially those who have been impacted, and we know absolutely that it has happened where they had rent increases that they simply could not afford. So the notice of motion was on the agenda, but ultimately you withdrew it. What gave you pause? Why did you have second thoughts on this?
My intention, my goal is the same. Simply, I started having some concerns about the motion and whether the way it was currently set up, whether it was written, was actually really the best way to go. So basically, I really examined this issue and I had conversations with landlord professionals in this area. And as I suspected, it became clear that there's clearly a wider context involved. It's not going to be resolved by merely a knee-jerk reaction of reinstating the rent policies as they currently exist. And sometimes you got to be humble, and you have to. Sometimes when new information comes to light, the smart move is to adjust your course and head in a new direction that's hopefully make any kind of ask that we make of the province be as effective as possible. So that's what I chose to do. It was a tough decision, but at the end, it's going to be a better one. I mean, frankly, as a result of the conversations with these landlord professionals and tenants, I thought the best move was to pull the motion so that we can work together. And proposing changes that have a greater likelihood of what we want, which is gaining support from other municipalities and the province, but at the same time without imposing unnecessary restrictions or vilifying the very people that offer such vital services in our communities. The fact is, tenants are in urgent need of assistance. We know that. But as are our landlords. So I'm just basically hoping that with this kind of air of collaboration with it, which takes into account all stakeholders, that's going to be what's needed to repair what is essentially a fractured housing system. If it doesn't work for both sides of this, it's not going to work. So I still have the goal of getting the municipality's attention, getting the province's attention, but with some kind of legislation, not necessarily the existing rent control, but something that gets the same job that works for everybody.
This is what I like about how this has played out, Adam. Again, completely understanding your motivation initially for wanting to bring forward this motion for discussion. But before it got there, you did some due diligence. You talked to some folks in your community. You recognized that there's not perhaps a one-size-fits-all, and now we're sort of revisiting this, which I think is the very best ways that our governments can work at any level. So where do you go from here? What are the next steps for you? If this is something you still want to see at least some movement on, how do you get that movement?
All I can do is just continue to collaborate with the people that, the experts in this business. I mean, I've really got to talk to the landlords because, like I said, it's got to work for everybody. We need to look at exactly what has changed because, I mean, we have, for example, in Cambridge, we've got there's thousands of units that we as council have approved over the past year or two, and unfortunately, very few are being built. And that's because of the expenses, just the environment right now that people are building in. And for the same reasons, things are really rough for landlords. And the last thing we want to do is go ahead and make things even worse. Because, I mean, landlords can go elsewhere. They can go other places that aren't as restrictive, and all of a sudden that industry just dies here, and things just get worse. We need to find something that is appealing to landlords so that they want to come here, they want to open this business, that we need them to flourish, and hopefully we can use that to get prices down and try and have some kind of positive effect on this problem. But it's not going to happen by just continuing a vilification of landlords and doing this in a way that just isn't going to work for them. There's just going to be an exodus of them. So, I am still absolutely committed to protection because the situation where tenants do not have, where there is literally no protection whatsoever from excessive and malicious increases, that is unacceptable to me. I mean, for obvious reasons, that needs to change. But like I said, if I go back to what I said at the beginning, we can't just do a knee-jerk reaction and impose the legislation that isn't working anyway.
Adam, really appreciate you making time for the conversation today. Thanks for being here, and enjoy the rest of this Friday.
Okay, thank you very much. You enjoy your weekend.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Adam Cooper, Ward 6 councillor in Cambridge, and the recognition as this motion, or the notice of motion, was put on the Cambridge Council agenda and then removed by Councillor Cooper himself before Tuesday's meeting, because he recognized that in the effort to provide this needed protection for tenants, he also ran the risk of alienating and or vilifying landlords and making it less attractive for people to get into the rental housing market, to provide rental housing in Cambridge. And you get stuck. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. How do we find some sort of compromise, maybe meet in the middle on this so that we are getting some much-needed protections for tenants, but also landlords who put up a good deal of capital and take a certain amount of risk are still protected themselves against that investment that they have made. So we'll get the landlord's perspective on things as the Ontario Landlords Watch joins us right after this break. Stay with us as we continue the conversation about rent controls, lives of tenants, here on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
She packed my bags last night, pre-flight. 0 hour, 9 a.m. And I'm gonna be high as a kite by then. I miss the earth so much, I miss my wife. It's lonely out in space on such a time timeless flight. And I think it's gonna be a long, long time.
Heather, who is official Farwell's Force member number 92, wanted to hear Rocket Man by Elton John on this All Request Friday Modes of Transportation edition. Of the modes of transportation I thought of, a rocket was not one of them, but it certainly qualifies, doesn't it? Good job by you, Heather, and thanks for playing along on All Request Friday Modes of Transportation edition. Okay, let's continue this conversation around rent controls, the motion that was going to be brought forward at Cambridge Council earlier this week by Councillor Adam Cooper, with whom we just spoke, but he withdrew the motion because he had some conversations in the community. One of those conversations was with Kayla Andrade, who's the founder of Ontario Landlords Watch and a Front Lobby ambassador, and Kayla joins our show this morning. Kayla, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Glad to hear that. Everybody seems to be
back in school.
Their kids are back in school. It's Friday. The sun's out. We're doing pretty well, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Every day's a blessing.
Absolutely. So I know, and I've been following your work in this, and it's such important and to me interesting advocacy, because I'm not a landlord, never have been, don't think I will be, but it just brings an interesting perspective to these conversations, because as Councillor Cooper mentioned to us in the previous segment, tenants, he believes, need some kind of protection, and I think we can all get behind that. But there's another side to this. So what were your conversations with Councillor Cooper around this motion like, Kayla?
Well, I told Mr. Cooper that, I come from the family of tenants. My husband comes from the family of landlords. When I'm advocating for this housing industry, I do like to take all parties involved, especially the taxpayers. I think we have a deep understanding of how our housing supply and the affordability crisis has impacted our taxpayers. So when I speak to him regarding, the need for more development within our community, more need for government housing, on the fact that it's not government housing and nonprofit housing providing, it's the private sector. It's the private sector that doesn't have their hand out asking for different type of grants or funding to keep it going. It's the private sector that is the ones putting these type of rental units on the market, in which we just need that support as landlords to keep helping those tenants. And when you can look at what the landlords in Ontario are dealing with, they have an increase of property taxes. They have their increase of utilities. The mortgage renewals are skyrocketing for many who are now renewing. The maintenance costs, insurance, loss of rent. We are trying to hold on to the current landlords in the industry, because there is a mass exodus that has happened ever since COVID. And now we're trying to encourage new people to come in and build units in an environment of Ontario, which is not very landlord friendly. So when you come across to have very deep statements of rent control on new builds, the current rent control, even on properties built before 2018, has choked out our landlords and is choking out our supply. And that's what you're seeing now with our housing crisis getting worse.
Sure, because you just outlined some of those expenses that perhaps people aren't thinking about, that landlords are dealing with, from utilities to property taxes, et cetera. And on those buildings before 2018, if there's a 2% increase in rent annually, the landlords are falling behind, aren't they?
Oh, we're subsidizing. We're subsidizing for the tenants, but at the same time, for 2026, we're at 2.1. There's a cap of 2.5 for these older properties, and the government just issued 2.1. So this is where landlords are sitting back and saying, okay, my mortgage is renewing, my taxes, my utilities. We got special, hidden taxes of storm water fees that are hitting these properties now in the region, and they're saying, I'm going to sell. And are they selling to a developer who's going to come in and take an affordable unit off the market, or are we going to see them completely go into a commercial property within that landscape of buying it from that small landlord? So we do need to look at who are these small landlords and how can we, as a society, help them in order to continue to keep them interested in providing the housing. Because right now, even with the Residential and Tenancy Act and the Landlord and Tenant Board, that in itself has driven many, many rental properties off the market.
Do you see a middle ground that we can work towards here, Kayla, where it is not an unfriendly place, Ontario, for landlords to operate, and at the same time we're offering decent protections for people living in a rental situation?
I think we need to reevaluate what rent control looks like. I think the 2.5 is definitely extremely low. Tenants even laugh when you give them a rent increase at 2.5%. And I think we have to identify that it's not a one-size-fits-all. So we do have properties where utilities are included. We have utilities not included in some properties. And we have condos where condo fees have increased. So how to allow it's almost like the Alberta model where you're able to increase the rent based on the increases of that property. You sit down but that's when it turns into you got to have a yearly lease. And a yearly lease needs to mean a yearly lease, not like in Ontario. It automatically goes month to month. And we do need to encourage our elected officials at the provincial level to step up their game, and they do need to change the way that the Residential and Tenancy Act and Landlord and Tenant Board is in Ontario. That is going to be, that's the headline, I think, in our community is how broken that system is. And it allows professional tenants to abuse the system. And in reality, the good landlords and the good tenants are the ones who are paying the price for these bad actors.
I'm glad you brought that up, Kayla, because as Councillor Cooper mentioned, he doesn't want to vilify landlords. In fairness, there are some landlords who would take advantage. At the same time, there are bad actors on the tenant side as well.
And when you look at how I get where the motion was where, hey, if you're a bad tenant and let's say you had a disagreement with your landlord, what's to stop that landlord at that year's end to raise your rent $500, $1,000, something that's out of your price range? One, we understand that can happen, but at the same time, if something is happening with that type of behavior with the tenant, the landlord's just going to be able to evict them anyways at the Landlord and Tenant Board. Yes, it takes a long, long time, but they still have that option. But we have to sit here and understand that this is not the economy we're in right now. We actually have tenants leaving. It's taking a lot longer to rent out units, and we're seeing landlords even lower their rental rates because of the decrease in the student immigration to the region. So times have changed, and I can't see our landlords doing that. Instead, they're actually just giving some discounts, and we can see that in the Toronto market where they're trying to entice them with free rent or cable. So things are changed, and I think we have to make sure that our policies that they put in place do stand even through the ups and the downs of the real estate market.
Kayla, really appreciate your voice on this and the time you've given us on the show today. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mike.
Kayla Andrade, founder, Ontario Landlords Watch, bringing us the perspective from the landlord side of this issue. And if it remains as unfriendly a place, Ontario, for landlords, we are going to be driving those essentially small business owners out of the market. And then what's left behind? Corporations coming in and perhaps displacing people who were living in lower rent apartments because they're going to develop something bigger and more expensive. It is a very thorny issue with multiple aspects to consider. We ask you every Friday morning a not $1 million question. The question we had for you today: what is it that happens to you on average 21 times per week? Suzanne's guess via email to mike@570news.com. You go pee. Suzanne, I go pee 21 times a show, let me tell you. I think we had another guess in here via email. Ken says you eat a meal. That's getting closer, but the answer, on average 21 times a week, this happens to you: crave junk food. I'll tell you what, for me, because if the first ingredient is sugar, it's one of my favorite things. I think I crave it 21 times a day. But on average, you will crave junk food 21 times a week. And if I may just add to that, next time you're at Morty's, try the deep fried cheesecake. Did I enjoy me some of that last night? This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride it where I like. You say black, I say white. You say black.
You knew that this one would make the cut today, right? On your All Request Friday, Modes of Transportation edition, because we've been talking so much about our roads in this region this week. Bicycle by Queen. And if I could just add, Freddie and the fellas, they did not envision when they sang about riding one's bicycle these contraptions that now zip around without even the need for a pedal, right? These electric battery boosted bicycles, but that's a whole other side conversation. We've been having it all through the week. It's Friday. All requests with your modes of transportation songs. All right. We also on Friday like to keep things a little bit on the lighter side. And this is a new festival being proposed in Kitchener that I really like the sounds of. If you've been in downtown Kitchener, by the way, at any point this summer, I think you've probably experienced a festival or two. It's been a really animated summer in downtown Kitchener. We'll talk more about that just after 10:30, by the way, because those festivals are not yet done. But let's get into this new festival that's being pitched. It is being pitched by Ward 6 councillor in Kitchener, Paul Singh, who joins us on the show. Paul, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mike. Happy to join you.
Yeah, it's always great to get your time on the show, and I really like where you're coming from with this particular festival. What is it that you're proposing?
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate you shedding some light on it. I think it addresses a important issue in our community, and I think it stems from my concerns and data that's coming across through our engagement in the community that isolation is becoming a serious challenge in the community. And isolation can be from various different causes and reasons. It could be from disparity, economic disparity. It could be because you're detached from the system because you've newly moved here from maybe other community, GTA, maybe you immigrated from somewhere else. And equally important for those that have been living here for a very long time or all their lives, they're just kind of detached. And the apathy's really set in. And so Kitchener Connect's really to address, to kind of counter that systemic issue. So what would a festival like this look like? Again, I think staff will really need to put their minds around how do you attract people who would want to come and see, tables with information regarding volunteerism, seeing all the amazing organizations that offer really hard-needed services, free service in some cases in the community that are a tremendous partner to the City of Kitchener and very least the City of Kitchener itself. All the amazing services that we provide to our citizens and a better way to connect with citizens saying, hey, this is what we do. This is how you can reach us. This is how you can learn more of the direction that the city is heading. So, I mean, that sounds sterile, not very fun. So I think that's where staff need to put their mind across is, okay, how do you make that an inviting place for people to want to come and join, where you can learn a lot, you can get involved, while at the same time you can have fun and meet other residents that are really well like-minded. So that could be through kind of like a party atmosphere. It could be music. It could be rides for the kids. I don't know, something that's going to really bring people because it's fun, but they're going to leave with having learned more and maybe feeling more connected and engaged. Why, Paul, is this important to you, that we reach out to those communities that we might not be reaching so far? You did a great job explaining that in the data and what you've learned through surveys. Why is it important that we reach these communities? Yeah, so like I said, irrespective, it's like you're a newcomer, senior, youth, or anyone that's living in a rapidly growing, developing neighborhood, it's very easy to often feel disconnected from the city system and from each other. And even longtime residents can feel distance from their city. And I think we're seeing a lot of that, and it's rearing its head in a very bad way. I think people are becoming isolationist and not as welcoming as Kitchenerites were. The sense of neighborhood, the sense of belonging, the sense of just, wanting to help one another. I think it's less than it used to be, and I think we can do better. Kitchener's always been leading in wanting to create different avenues to promote growth. I think as we're seeing growth happen in our city, I think this has to come sidestep along with it, because people need to feel like they belong together, not just as a fast, rapid growing city, and just people are kind of isolated onto their own. I think that really has a negative effect, not only now, but it's going to have a bad negative effect in the future as well. So I think that's really the premise and the push, the encouragement for it.
Council has supported the motion. You mentioned staff's got some work to do to figure out what this looks like and feels like. Where are we going from here?
Well, I think we really got to connect with our other agencies. I think this can't be a City of Kitchener thing only. It's got to be done in partnership. Like I said, people just coming to see and talk about bylaw, get data on growth and zoning and planning and city services. That, as important as it is, I think the real success of this would be, how do we engage with our other partners, United Way, the Food Bank, other mental health agencies that support residents. How can we engage with them and then to be a part of this where they have a presence, they're able to connect with residents who want to be able to access those services, as well as volunteer their time towards those services. So I think through engagement, and I'm really happy and proud of this, really. And again, it was unanimously supported by my colleagues, and I'm thankful of that since this motion came and passed, I've been reached by numerous agencies already that are really excited and say, this is a good idea. We would love to participate. How can we be part of that conversation? So I think staff need to, the next step is engage with those agencies and say, hey, exactly how do we do this collaboratively?
Really looking forward to watching this blossom, Paul. I think it's a great idea, and I really appreciate your time on the show this morning to talk about it.
It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks, Paul. Enjoy your day.
You too. Bye.
Paul Singh, Ward 6 councillor in the city of Kitchener. His motion adopted unanimously by his colleagues on council. The idea being some sort of festival led by the city in partnership with these other agencies, charitable organizations like the United Way as one example. But the idea behind it being to foster that sense of belonging for members of our community. And I have so many thoughts on this, but I'll start with the whole idea of talking over the backyard fences, right? We make that reference often about bygone days when we used to talk to our neighbors over the backyard fence. Or maybe if you grew up in a neighborhood like I did. In fact, even when I moved into the place that I'm still in more than 20 years ago now, give or take. Yeah, but we didn't have fences between every property. As time goes and dogs join families, etc., good fences make good neighbors, right? Which, of course, is supposed to be sarcastic because that means you want to stay away from your neighbors. But I get the fences that are there. But even when they are there, you can still have a chat. That literally just happened to me last week. Neighbors on both sides, Mike on one, Johnny on the other, and on the same day, little chats over that fence because we know one another personally. And I can understand that as we grow as a city and people move into neighborhoods, no matter which neighborhood, even in the newer neighborhoods where the houses are so much closer together, you're so busy with all of your own things, right? You might have kids and you have to get them to various activities, not to mention school, and you've got to get to work and you might not be working in town and you're commuting, and all these different things take a lot of your time, a lot of your energy. So what you end up doing is kind of living in your home inside those walls and going out to get to the places you need to get to without ever necessarily interacting with the people around you. And I think this is a pretty good use of government resources, or a good use of influence on the part of a municipal government to create those opportunities for us to not only connect with one another, but to connect with the city and understand better how it works and the sorts of services that the city can provide and is providing for you. I mean, how many times on this show have we talked about the different levels of government and not really understanding, or even if we do understand, we don't follow those particular lanes, right? The city's responsible for this, the province is responsible for that, the feds are responsible for the other things, etc. What a great opportunity for the city to provide us that information and to help us connect. I I didn't realize until late in life how lucky I was. And I've joked before about what I like to call the Farwell family mafia. My family members before me, paved the ground in front of me to make this a pretty easy community for me to navigate because my family was just so involved in so many different things. So basically, I had the last name Farwell and doors would start to open, right? And it wasn't until I was well into my adult years and I got involved with more organizations and I got to talking to more people, particularly younger people, and they talked about how difficult it was to kind of break into the old circles, if you will, of influence in this community. I think I was a part of them by birthright almost. And I hadn't realized how lucky I was and how easy it was to feel as connected as I did. So the more we can foster that connection for others, the better. Because I felt so connected. I wanted to contribute in different ways. I want to sit on this board. I want to contribute to this charity. I want to work with this agency. And it just goes from there. It's just a better, more caring, more welcoming community full of happier people. That's an awful lot for one little festival to achieve, okay? But I think we're starting in the right direction here. Doug is on the phone with us. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Good. My first impression when I heard this was I wondered just how interesting it might be, but I actually think this is a very good idea. Part of the reason is because the problem that we have, and people are becoming isolationist, is because we have, and this is not meant to be critical of a race or culture. We have people coming here from other countries who have different backgrounds, and they tend to gravitate to themselves rather than they do to people they might come in contact with in a neighborhood. On top of that, Patty and I lived in a neighborhood. We moved to a small community up here. I'm not going to mention the name because that's not important. But the fact of the matter was, if you weren't born there, you weren't shunned, but you just weren't welcomed the way people were who grew up there. It took a long, long time for us to make any inroad in that community, and I think people are also facing that. That community in particular has now had 3 or 4 subdivisions added, so things are going to have to change, and hopefully they will for the better. But that's the way society is changing, and people are moving to places like that because it's convenient for work, but they don't move there for the feeling of neighborhood. I hope that festival will bring people together and change that.
Doug, I love where you're coming from. That's it exactly. And I also love how when you came to this conversation, or maybe you saw it on one of our show previews today, you're wondering, what's this all about? How interesting can this possibly be? But this is the secret sauce. It's what we're getting at here, right? And I mean, goodness gracious, if I can connect it to this whole idea of going back to work in an office space, right? How easy is it to communicate with coworkers and get frustrated over email or Teams or Slack or whatever you're communicating on because you're not there in person? But when you're with somebody, you're sitting in that same room and you're having a conversation with them, how that interaction changes, right? Let's get off the screens and out into our community. Looking forward to seeing how Kitchener Connects blossoms as we move forward. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I wonder if you want to play a little game with me. This is not quite the not $1 million question, but it's similar because I came across the report from our outgoing parliamentary budget officer last week, Yves Giroux. It's a pretty exhaustive report, and don't worry if you didn't read it. First of all, they pay me to read stuff like this. Okay, they don't. I'm a geek, and I dove into it last weekend, and some of the numbers absolutely blew my mind. So just for fun, and we'll just take a couple or a few quick guesses on it. If I were to ask you how much you think we as a federal government pay in compensation for our employees, how much do you think that is? How much money do we spend paying the people that work for our federal government? If you want to take a wild stab at it, I'd love to hear your guesses. How much do we pay all of the people that work for our federal government? We'll get into the conversation next on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Oh, it's your modes of transportation all request Friday. And that one right there for Nate, number 8 on the official Farwell's Force membership roster. A little bit of Sugar Ray and Fly, modes of transportation on your all request Friday here on the show. I asked you before the break, if you were to take a wild stab at the labor costs for our federal government, what do you think those labor costs would be on an annual basis? And I understand, like, you don't want to sound silly if you don't get the right answer, right? I knew, so this comes from the outgoing report from our soon-to-be or now former parliamentary budget officer, Yves Giroux. And boy, oh boy, when you look at the numbers, I knew we had lots, and I do mean lots, of federal government employees in the hundreds of thousands. And I just hadn't really done the I hadn't tried to do the math. I don't know. I knew the number would be big. I was, quite frankly, shocked at how big the number is. And according to Mr. Giroux's report last week, our federal government is paying. Are you ready? Can you please sit down or put yourself in an otherwise safe and comfortable position. I don't want you driving off roads, catching your finger in a machine that's going to hurt you. I want you to digest this number of $71 billion. That's with a B, $71 billion in compensation for our federal government employees every year. $71 billion. In the next 5 years, that's going to rise to more than $76 billion because in the next 5 years, full-time employees with our federal government will reach more than 440,000 people. 440,000 people working for your federal government, costing us right now $71 billion per year. And I think that will help you understand why federal conservative leader Pierre Poilievre describes the federal government thusly.
The government has become a big fat man, and the private sector is a skinny man carrying that fat man up an increasingly steep hill.
And we know that there are plans to trim budgets, to get a little bit leaner federally. And I guess we'll find out what those numbers look like when we finally get a budget in the fall. But Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne made it clear yesterday when asked by reporters after this cabinet retreat that's been happening the past couple of days in Toronto, there will be adjustments, Finance Minister Champagne said. We are looking to get leaner. Canadians are tightening their belts. We're going to tighten ours as well. Let me tell you, you better pull it in by a couple of notches because $71 billion every year on more than 440,000 full-time federal government employees.
The government has become a big fat man, and the private sector is a skinny man carrying that fat man up an increasingly steep hill.
It will be interesting to see how we move forward from here. But when I read those numbers in the report from Yves Giroux, I was astounded at the $71 billion annually in compensation. That takes salaries and benefits into account like most organizations would. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Highway Star, some Deep Purple for Rob on this All Request Friday. Modes of Transportation edition, as we'll play a little bit of your favorite song that features a mode of transportation. Highway Star, obviously, cars. And, you know, our next guest, we were kind of casually chatting in the hallway, and I found out that he was at the Who concert earlier this week. Did they play Magic Bus?
No, they didn't.
Too bad.
I actually, after when you're going to the car, you're saying, oh, they played all the hits. And then we said, wait, they didn't play Magic Bus.
It would have fit so nicely, I thought I'd try. That voice is none other than Steve Roth's voice. He's the manager of special events at the City of Kitchener. And honestly, like an old elementary school neighborhood friend, how did we end up here, by the way?
Isn't
Look
this
at
nuts?
us.
And now
It's
we're
crazy.
grown-ups, Mike. We used to like...
Speak for yourself,
Oh,
Roth.
okay. Nice.
You are here as the manager of special events at the City of Kitchener to talk about like the fact that we are not done yet. And I mentioned this earlier in the show. It's been such a summer for festivals and animation in our downtown. And you got another big one coming up this weekend, which we'll get to. It's called Endless Summer. But when you think back on the summer that's been, on the calendar, we're not done yet. So I love Endless Summer. But gosh, it's been an exciting summer in downtown Kitchener.
It has been an exciting summer. Like sometimes, you know, we talk about, you know, our youth, which seems like yesterday.
It does.
But I really pinch myself because I have a really cool opportunity to bring happiness and joy to a lot of people in Kitchener, in the region, outside the region. We're doing some really cool stuff. I mean, I'm grateful that our mayor and council understand the importance of events. We were talking about this off air. You know, we're seeing attendance before the pandemic, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000 people. Now, 20,000, 25,000, Canada Day, 30,000 people. Kids Park in Victoria Park a couple weeks ago, 20,000 people, families, kids, grandparents. There's a need for this. And I am so happy to be able to offer this to our community for free. Like they show up and they enjoy it. We all work hard, and you know, we talk about our youth, Mike. When I was a kid, and I think you were the same way, I loved going to concerts. I loved going to music. And now you see these musical acts coming through town, and how they fill up the Sky Dome or the ACC, I have no idea what those prices. It's really prohibitive. Not everybody can go, but we have an opportunity to bring some events, concerts, entertainment, cruising on King Street for free. Bring your family, make the afternoon of it. And somebody asked me the other day what my favorite thing is. I love being on site. I love looking around and just saying, wow, I'm so lucky that I get to see everybody and enjoy it. And as we have built and grown our portfolio, Caravana comes to mind. Caravana was a pinch me moment when I looked around. I said, I can't believe this is happening in downtown Kitchener. It's amazing. So yeah, I feel lucky. We're tired. It's been a busy summer. We're looking forward to Saturday and then put our feet up till Oktoberfest.
Well, you kind of read my mind on that, your tired part. Not that, I mean, I would assume because it's been so busy and I've seen you everywhere. We ran into each other on Eric Traplin Day. I don't think I got to say hi on Canada Day, but I definitely saw you and the team working. Paddlepalooza just the other week. We ran into each other at Blues Fest. So many things going on. What kind of effort does this take on the part of the city to make these things happen? Like, they don't just come out of a hat.
They don't come out of a hat. So it's kind of like my old background with theater. People show up for theater. They sit down on their seat at 8 o'clock. They're entertained for 2.5 hours. They get back to their car. They had a great night. Events are a lot like that. It takes months and months and months of preparation. We have Chris Kindle coming up, obviously, in December. Literally a year of planning. The logistics, how many garbage cans, where are the road closures? Security and safety has been paramount this year with everything that's going on in the world. There's so many logistics that you have to kind of go through. Booking the artists that we have on stage has become challenging, as in they're not as available at the price point you're looking for as they used to. So you have to dig a little deeper to get that. But to your point, it is a lot of work. I'm so lucky to have a great team, some great support around City Hall and the City of Kitchener to do this stuff because it takes a village. And but we do it because we love it. We work the 60-hour weeks because we love it. It's amazing.
Big Wreck, Default, Feist this weekend. Those aren't bad names, no matter where you're digging down for your price point.
Yeah, we're happy, and I don't have any spoilers yet, but we have started booking for 2026, and I think we're going to have some pretty good announcements for next year.
Looking forward to it already. As I'm looking forward to, it's in our calendar at home. Endless Summer, which is this weekend. Feist headlining, but tell us what's going on in the downtown this weekend.
So we're always kind of looking at our portfolio and kind of collecting data, who's coming to these events, and what was brought to our attention, and they were right, is we had a gap in our programming. There's a lot of young professionals coming to town. They're choosing Kitchener-Waterloo to live in their late 20s. They're graduating from school, 30s, early 40s. And a lot of our programming has either focused on the young or kind of like, Big Wreck, Tom Cochrane, that kind of stuff. But nothing in that kind of 20s, 30s, 40s range. And I said, you're right. We don't really hit that target market, and it's big. It's big. So Endless Summer is this really cool new event taking place in Victoria Park. This is year 2. Last year, I should actually look back in the calendar. I believe it snowed in September on that. It was like the worst weather.
So cruel.
But it was so cruel. We should be okay tomorrow. But, it's a way to welcome all these students back to Kitchener-Waterloo. People who have never been here. They get their orientation kit. What? Free Feist concert in Kitchener? And then we have all these young professionals who, when we talk about Basha Boulette or U.S. Girls or Feist, people have been on either spectrum with this. They say, I have no idea who Feist is, but more people have been saying, I can't believe Feist is coming to Kitchener. And so it's very exciting. It's exciting that we have this demographic that we normally don't target, that we are now. And I think this is probably the biggest event that we do over the year. It's a big concert. That park, the Commons area, so if you imagine where the clock tower is, that's where the stage will be, right in front of it. That park, we can hold about 13,000 people in there. There's no other venue in town that can do 13,000 people. Will we hit that? I don't know. I mean, we've been hitting 15, 20, 25,000 people. So we might, but how exciting to have a venue where it's going to be electric. It's going to be great. The Feist team has been amazing to work with. I think it'll be a great show. Again, the lights, the sound, there's so many elements. Just before I came here, the banners were going up and it was starting to come to life, and I get excited about that.
I'm understandably so. Again, this is a free show. Free show that people can enjoy in Victoria Park this weekend. And, I'm thinking, the numbers have been great. I get the sense that our community is looking for these opportunities again, Steve. Mm-hmm. But also going beyond that, I think people find us now, and all of a sudden there's a bit of a tourist destination aspect to all of this.
Well, you are right. We are a member of a network of municipal event planners, so we get together twice a year. And we got together in February this year, and they said, what is happening in Kitchener? What is happening? And we seem to be a buzz amongst the province. Why is this happening? And what's happening? So, I mean, it's great. Everything's aligning. We have a great team. We have we have an unbelievable community. People are finding us, which is really cool. And I think that when you tell people, hey, you know what, grab a babysitter or bring the kids or bring your parents, and it's free. It's hard to beat that.
It certainly is that. Really looking forward to it. I know I'll see you this weekend, and then we'll take that little break and tap a keg together in October. Okay?
I'm sure we will, Mike.
Steve Roth, manager of special events, City of Kitchener, joins us to talk about Endless Summer, Feist headlining tomorrow in Victoria Park in downtown Kitchener. Thanks for everything you do. Thanks for being
Mike.
here.
Appreciate it.
This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. guests in the studio are enjoying a little bit of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Walk Like a Man on your All Request Friday. Modes of Transportation edition. Walking is definitely one of those. You got 2 feet and a heartbeat, you're getting places. Those guests in studio, I am so excited to share this story today. Marnie Hart is with us. Marnie, good morning.
Good morning.
And Hillary Walsh comes along as well. Hillary, good morning to you.
Good morning.
You are both with Oma's Suscona KW. Marnie, can we start with the organization itself? Who are Oma's Suscona?
Oma's Suscona is a grandmothers to grandmothers group. We're part of about 150 chapters across Canada, all through the Stephen Lewis Foundation. And it began in 2006 with Stephen Lewis. He was the United Nations envoy to Africa for AIDS. And he was over there and realized that there was such a big problem, brought it home, and he and his daughter Alana just got talking around their kitchen table, and it was the Stephen Lewis Foundation was started, and then 2 years later, first it was the big gathering in Toronto. They brought some African grandmothers over, and that was the start, and that was in 2006. And then our group started up in 2008, and Hillary here was one of our founding members of our Oma's Suscona's group.
What was that like, Hillary, getting this group off the ground here in the region?
It was very exciting. It was really exciting. We started with 2 of us, Carol Schmidt, another original member, who's still with us today. And we had 11 of us meeting in a living room, decided, yes, we have enough interest and enough enthusiasm. We registered as a group, and we got our name, and we had a wonderful sort of launch at Rim Park, actually that September. And I think within probably 2 years, we were up to almost 100 members.
Oh my gosh.
It was very exciting. Yeah. Lots of energy. We were just absolutely overcome, I think, in some ways by the tragedy that was happening to African grandmothers. Who we saw as our counterparts. These are were grandmothers in Africa, and they were the impetus for starting the Grandmothers to Grandmothers campaign at that gathering that Marnie's talking about in Toronto. So it really became a movement of Canadian grandmothers, and today there's 10,000 members in groups across the country. There are groups now in Australia, in the UK, and there's a couple in the US,
States,
I think.
There's a couple too,
yeah.
I think.
Right.
So we're still going strong.
Hillary, what do you do for fundraising? Going back to 2008, 18 years now almost. What do you do for fundraising?
Well, we organize, we have one big event every year since the beginning. The name has changed, and the venue has changed at times, and that particular event was a Scrabble tournament combined with a very, very large market. We had people coming in from the community on a particular day, but prior to that, we would fundraise ourselves by collecting pledges. And so we do things like that. We've had off-the-wall sales.
We've had off-the-wall sales.
Which is art.
We've had some concerts. We had a huge quilt sale. We do spring fundraisers also. So that's what we're so proud of ourselves, because we have managed to raise, our goal was $1 million. So we are over $1 million in 17 years.
That was the part I was really excited to share, because when I saw that note, and we've had the chance on this show to help promote the concert recently, Off the Wall a couple of times, that art sale, because I know it comes up regularly. But as you just mentioned, Marnie, it's 17 years this month since the local chapter formed. There was 11 people that Hillary mentioned in a living room. More than $1 million. How do you explain a number like that?
Yes. Well, we're very enthusiastic, hardworking women, and people support us, and that's why we want to thank the community, because they, we our friends and family come, but a lot, it's just word of mouth over the years. And a lot of people say, oh, you're going to have your bake stuff, are you? Yes, of course we are. And we're a very talented bunch of women, crafty and bakers and artists. And we have everything. And we're getting older. Not old, just older. But we're still doing what we can. So
it's absolutely incredible. So, Hillary, I know next Wednesday there's an event coming up, right? September the 10th?
Next Wednesday, we're holding a celebration and thank you. And it's not widely open to the public because it costs money to do these things.
Sure.
We want to celebrate with our members for all of their efforts over the years, and we've invited a few guests. There'll be someone from the foundation coming, and it's just a drop in, and we'll have some displays and that kind of thing. But I just want to say that going back to 2006, what happened then, in terms of why we're so enthusiastic, there was a statement that was developed, and at the bottom of the statement, the African and Canadian grandmothers that were at that AIDS conference, basically the mantra was, we will not rest until they can, the they referring to the grandmothers. So we're still at it because the need is so great still. If people are really interested, they can go on the website and just Google Oma-Saskona KW, and they'll see all of what we've done over the years. We've done an enormous amount of education in the community. We've had support from places like the City of Waterloo Museum, who hosted that art project years ago, Clay and Glass Gallery, the City Hall. It's hanging quilts. It's been enormous.
I'm glad you mentioned the opportunity to check out online. It's omas-saskonakw.org. But if you Google Oma-Saskona, yes, 100 members strong now, Marnie, and county. Is there room for people that might be interested in joining?
Oh, there's always room.
Good.
We probably only have maybe 40 to 50 that come regularly to a meeting because we are getting older and sometimes it's getting more difficult to come out to the meetings. But everyone knows what's going on all the time, and people are more than welcome. And we're always welcoming visitors if you just want to come and see what we're up to. And yeah.
Is the next goal now 2 million, right? That's where we're going from here. You got the first million. The first million is the easiest million, ladies.
Maybe we'll go for that 50,000.
It is tremendous, and it's a testament to the effort that you've all made over 17 years and counting. Thanks for sharing the story with us, and thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks very much, Mike.
Hillary Walsh and Marnie Hart, members of Oma-Saskona of KW. Just Google that. You'll get to their website, learn more about them, and maybe you can participate as well. More than $1 million raised to date and counting. They join us this morning on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Let me tell you this, and I'll tell you this for free. If you can't drive 55 in this town, and I know Sammy Hagar is talking about miles per hour, but even kilometers per hour, 55, you are ski-rude in these here parts because we got some speed cameras that are just waiting to extract the money from your pocket. We'll get into that as part of our Friday 4 roundtable conversation this morning. All guests in studio. It's a party in here. Woo! By the way, All Request Friday, Modes of Transportation edition. Sammy Hagar can't drive 55 for both Paul and Mark on our All Request Friday. Our Friday 4 guests With me in studio, Jane Mitchell, former regional councillor. Good morning, Jane.
Good morning.
David Drew is here, owner, negotiating change, government relations, stakeholder engagement strategies. Mr. Drew, good morning.
Happy Friday, Mike.
Happy Friday, David. And Trish Mumby, a small business consultant and world traveler, also with us, planning her next trip already. I was going to say vacation, but you work on these things.
do.
And yeah, anyway, nice to see you.
You too. It's been a while.
It has been. Good morning. All right, let's dive in because we have much to discuss today. Not the least of which is I think the stain is still in the parking lot at Airboss in Kitchener, where Doug Ford emptied the entire contents of a large bottle of Crown Royal because, gosh darn it, if you hurt us, I'm going to hurt you, said Premier Ford. Jane, I'll start with you on this. I feel as though we have just entered political theater and maybe not much political action, but your take on the Premier's actions.
I think we have entered political theater in this one. He's going with it. It got him elected again, and tariffs are his thing, and certainly, you know, Mr. Trump could say, well, look, here's a win. 200 people lost their jobs and they went to the States. But overall, that particular firm still has a lot of stuff that they're doing in Ontario. So, you know, it's not, and these things happen. I remember when Heinz closed their Leamington plant, and that was a terrible thing. But that was long before tariffs. But yeah, for Doug Ford, this is a win-win. Though I don't think it's a win I wouldn't get rid of a bottle of Crown Royal myself.
You think it's a win, though? Because I've heard some blowback on this one.
Has there been blowback?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah, well, if there's been blowback, there's been blowback. But he's certainly running with tariffs.
David, you have been in the hallowed halls of federal politics, mind you. You've been known to advise an MP or two. What would you say to the Premier after the little stunt?
I've also been known to enjoy some Crown Royal.
Sacrilege.
I have no problem with it. As to whether it's a stunt or not, sure. I think it was a stunt, but I also think it's a stunt that came to him quite naturally. And as to wasting the bottle of Crown Royal, don't worry. I'm sure it was expense, so we paid for it. But I genuinely do not believe that this has anything to do with Trump. It's like Jane said, this is the big picture. But by being so dramatic and angry about this, which had nothing to do with
the announcement,
it really does. Yes, it really does send a message to every other company out there who might be considering relocating some jobs that it will not be quiet and painless, that it is going to be front page news and it is going to cost you market. And so, you know, the way you phrase the question is, are we in a new era of stunts? And I'm like, well, a one-off doesn't make it an era. And quite honestly, then I thought, well, what was his last stunt? And then it occurs to me, he pulled off the best political stunt ever. He swallowed a bee on live television and kept going with the press conference. This wasn't quite that, but I kind of liked it.
So... And that's a fair point. I kind of struggled how to phrase the question for you all this morning because you're right. Stunt. What I'm thinking of, though, is it wasn't that long ago in a similar vein that Doug Ford went off, and I quite enjoyed it, but on Stelco when he was talking about, and I'm going to get this guy on the phone. Next time he walks across your plant floor, you just remember what he's done to steel in Ontario and this and that. And then there were the other unscripted Doug Ford moments about home invasions, and so not necessarily stunty, but gosh, there's a lot of something away from the messages he's trying to deliver as the Premier.
He talks like I remember Mumby's aunts talking.
Oh God,
which is just a great way to pass off the mic.
All right, Trish, what do you
make? He really
make?
does, and they love him.
Tell me more about your aunts.
Oh well, there's
They're
the topless
crazy.
one, and there's the anyway. He absolutely did. I think he did cross over into a new era. So he's always talked in a stunt way. And I do feel like had this gone better, we would see lots more stunts, but it didn't go well. I thought it was hilarious. Why did no one check to see if that slow pour thing was in there or not?
I know.
Ridiculous. Why did he have to point out that he doesn't actually drink? Why did he have to say it was from his house? Because like Dave said, it wasn't. Why was it a brand new bottle that no one checked? All ridiculous. But he has always hawked in this way, in this stunt-like way. So had it gone better, yeah, we would see more props coming forward. But he's not good at it. He's not a good actor. He was shaky. His voice was shaky. He was wildly uncomfortable with it. Didn't go well. Thank God. We don't have to see so much of it.
I bet you if it had poured faster, he would have been better.
Oh, yeah, and he would go on. Next time he was going to talk about, I don't know, defending your own home. A kitchen knife would be there. Like, the props would be a part of his new shtick. But it didn't go well. I'm happy about that. Let's face it, Doug Ford is a personality hire. That's what he is, and that's what we bought. That's what people bought. I did not buy. And typically, there's supposed to be grown-ups behind the curtain doing the good work, and I think that might be where the problem is. I was quite surprised. I watched that live, and I was really surprised that it didn't come back on Carney at all. This is about tariffs. This is about a company needing to make a business decision. And there are still jobs in Ontario, lots of jobs in Ontario through Crown Royal. So what about those people? What if the company, I can't remember the mother company's name, just decided, Doug Ford, you know what? We decided to keep some jobs in Ontario because we care about these people. But if you're going to treat us like this and tell Ontarians not to buy our product, we might as well move all operation to the U.S. because Americans love Crown Royal. And they can't, this is an economic decision that a business had to make. I don't think this was handled properly, and it's much bigger. And for a premier to go on TV and say, let's all stop buying this stuff, I don't know. I didn't think it was a great choice.
Diageo does still have its headquarters and warehousing in the Toronto area. Saskatchewan is where the product is distilled. Quebec is where it's bottled. So there are implications beyond Ontario. Jane, you were in office for a number of years.
Yeah.
Did you ever resort to anything? Were your elbows ever up, down, sideways? Like, this is what I'm getting at here. This feels like what we're...
Well, remember, we were the Ken Sealing era. And Ken Sealing was a very calm person. Everything must be calm. And, yeah, there were certain counselors that, did have their stunts and everything. Wasn't my idea. And I remember one person telling me, if you're always in the paper, you're not doing your job, which was very interesting for that person to say. But
was that person always in the paper?
No.
Okay.
This was not a politician.
Gotcha.
This was a person from one of the parties that did the backroom stuff. Yeah, but I'd say we were a lot calmer. I mean, we did have our we did have our people that always had their mouths open, but most of us it was calm and just tried to do our best.
David, it occurs to me that this is what currently is working. Isn't it? I mean, the whole elbows up thing, not to invoke it too much because I know people are tired of it. Donald Trump often speaks right off the cuff, unscripted. Doug Ford has continually spoken unscripted in a manner, though, that really seems to relate to people.
If Stockwell Day knew which way the Niagara River flowed, his wetsuit stunt would have worked.
There you go.
And I bring that up just to say this is nothing new. It's something that we go through. Some politicians can pull it off, some can't. I remember when first elected, the Prime Minister dressing up as Superman on Halloween in the House of Commons, or to Parliament Hill, pardon me. He didn't wear it in the House. And Catherine McKenna dressing up as Environment Woman or something like that. These things have a time and a place, and each of them are in the eye of the beholder.
You mean Trudeau dressed up as Superman? I just can't see Carney dressing up as Superman.
Trudeau.
Shocking.
Sorry, did I say Carney?
No. You said the Prime Minister, and I'm like, that can't be Carney.
Okay, no, that's a state again. A grown up in the room. I can't picture him. Although, again, when he was appearing with Trump, and Trump kept saying, never say never, and Carney sitting there, never. Just mouthing the words with a Cheshire Cat grin on. That was a stunt.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? All of these stunts are there. It's when you notice that they're a stunt that they become problematic sometimes, or topics of debate where rather than talking about, geez, what is the substance of this issue? It's like, was that a good use of Crown Royal? And here we are. Like, we can agree or disagree on this, but it's not as uncommon as we'd like to make it out to be.
My favorite stunt to date, and I've shared the story before, many years ago, I'm working as a reporter in Toronto. They had just approved the nude beach out at Hanlon's Point. It was unofficially a nude beach for a long time. They actually, enacted legislation that made it so. And a councillor, Giorgio Mammoliti, who I think is still on Toronto Council 20 plus years later, but anyway, started to undress in council chambers. Is this what we're going to have? Because he was opposed. We're going to have people coming all over, walking around without their clothes on. And there was Giorgio Mammoliti on the evening news with his hairy chest just bared for all to see. And I hereby issue the challenge to local councillors. If that's the best I've seen, that was 20 plus years ago. Let's go.
See it.
Let's get something fun
Bring
going
the
on
drama.
around here. Bring the drama. Trish Mumby, David Drew, and Jane Mitchell with us on our Friday 4 roundtable this morning. You know, it's been about 100 days for Prime Minister Carney. How do we feel about his performance? A new poll says most Canadians still like what they're seeing. We'll find out how our panel feels as we continue the Friday 4 roundtable on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I mean, it's one way to reimagine the Beatles. It's drawing an interesting look from Trish Mumby, small business consultant here in studio with us.
He
Jane
promised
Mitchell,
me it was better.
I know, this is it. Jane Mitchell, a former regional councillor, is here. And David Drew, owner Negotiating Change, was the person who requested on this All Request Friday Modes of Transportation edition, Drive My Car by Bobby McFerrin.
Yes, that was me.
All right.
I'll full responsibility, or I'll take all the credit. Either way.
I don't think you're getting much credit from the person sitting to your left there. I'm not sure Trisha's a big fan of that one.
She's just a grouchy Gus.
Okay. Let's get into Prime Minister Mark Carney approaching 100 days of his time as Prime Minister. New Abacus poll says about 81% of respondents, I was going to say Canadians, 81% of respondents to the poll still have a fairly positive perception of the Prime Minister. However, the poll indicates that we're ready for some action to follow on what was promised during the election campaign. David, your thoughts on PM Carney about 100 days in?
Well, I think I would just have to, if this was a report card, everything would just be incomplete. Positive comments, looking good potential-wise, but as much as this is 100 days, it's nothing yet. If I was going to be having to issue a report card, the incompletes would be fails. Okay, we were supposed to be moving quickly on these national projects, and we now have named someone to run the Office of National Projects, and soon they will be renting some office space in Calgary. That's not quite the pace I was expecting. I understand why it is this pace. This is just where I'm at with them. Everything is incomplete, but it's not really fair to say any of this should be complete by now. But I really hoped we would be seeing something more. I am very afraid of the budget that's coming up. But, what I got to say about Mark Carney, every time he talks more and more, this budget being investment in austerity, I hear Jim Flaherty. And I mean that in the most positive way possible. I hear someone who actually takes finances of the government seriously and recognizes that there are trade-offs and choices that have to be made. And just that change of tone, I like. So you know what I mean? I can't give him credit for doing anything yet. But I like what he says he's cooking. I'm waiting for the meal to come out of the oven and taste it. I guess is the best way to...
Jim Flaherty was former finance minister Ontario, right? Not federal.
And federal.
That's right.
The James M. Flaherty building is the finance department in Ottawa.
Thank you for the reminder. Trish, your thoughts 100 days in?
Well, I thought about this report card format, and I was going to give him an A. I didn't think about incompletes. And I just say a solid A because nothing's gone wrong. And I feel like that's where, when people were answering this poll, that's probably where they were coming from. He's done a lot considering the season of this 100 days. Parliament sat for an hour and a half while he's been in office, something like that. There hasn't been an opportunity to complete a lot, but he's put a lot of things into action. And what he has completed is overseas. Like we're snuggling up to NATO. We're making promises. We're
Again,
friends.
though, we're making promises. We haven't spent the money on the military that we're making friends with NATO by saying we're going to do. You know what I mean? Like, that's just it. I'm loving it again. I'm loving it, but we haven't yet.
Well, I feel like I trust that it's going to happen. I think this austerity and spending budget is going to be a difficult balance. I don't really get how that's going to happen. Jane, I thought it was interesting what you said earlier, that someone told you once, if you're always in the news, you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
Well, he's not really in the news. It's been a very quiet summer, really. So I like to assume that he is down to work. And that's what people also have been assuming. He's been around. He is making friends in all the right places. There's only so much he can do with America the way it is. And I have to assume the things that he's done with the tariffs and Kuzma getting back on track is because he's just... It's got to be a weird balance dealing with Trump right now and just trying to stay quiet and stay out of trouble. A lot of people are criticizing him that the interprovincial trade hasn't been fixed yet, and I'm kind of frustrated with that too. I was looking forward to seeing BC Wine in the LCBO, but as I understand it, that's also provincial issues. And let's face it, Canada's on vacation in the summer, and it's like they've said, like there's only so much he could get done in this time. So I would expect, though, when Parliament. Everyone comes back to life this fall, everything should be very, very busy. And I think I assume anyway, that behind the scenes, there's all kinds of work going on. And yeah, I would give him a solid A for now because I like to have hope.
I'm very, very nervous about that budget in the fall, whenever it does come. But Jane, your thoughts 100 days in?
Well, I've been thinking about Carney versus Trudeau. And I think what's happening is, but to my mind, Carney could have either led the Liberals, and he could have easily led the Conservatives. He's just that type of guy. And compared
a centrist, perhaps.
A centrist, yeah. A very sort of, he's been with the various Bank of Britain and so on and all these things. And so that he knows finance and that kind of thing. So I definitely agree that we're going to see some austerity in the when the budget comes in. I heard your report.
$71 billion,
I'm
Jane.
just like,
holy
my
Hannah.
goodness, we just have to. But we know that he's not going to have a Dodge or something like that go through and tear apart everything. They're going to go and they're going to do it slowly and methodically and do cutbacks where the cutback should be, not where, you're just destroying the CDC and things like that. So, I'm actually very happy. It's been 100 days, but when you think about Trump's first 100 days and how he just is going and destroying everything, I think being the casual, cautious Canadian just really works for me.
All right, 60 seconds, David.
I noticed that the Liberals have formed an environment caucus, and the subheadline around that was they're worried that the government is losing focus on it. I believe we were talking about the Angus Reid Institute, and you were talking about the approval numbers, but the vote intent on that has the Liberals at 38% and the Conservatives at 40%.
Angus was today. Abacus came a couple of days ago. That was the poll I was going from.
Okay.
But yes, Angus, it's almost a dead heat again.
No, last I remember, Nanos had them exactly as they did 3 weeks ago, unchanged. So we're getting to this point where the polls are turbulent. That might mean things.
I think it'll be interesting, though, in the fall when he has to go back to being a politician and not an economist, because that's where he's a little bit weaker, actually being in Parliament.
And Pierre Poilievre will be there again, too.
Talk about stunt politics.
Trish Mumby, Jane Mitchell, David Drew with us on the Friday 4 Roundtable. Speed cameras are working, says the region. Are they working for us? We talk about it as the Friday 4 continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is an All Request Friday, Modes of Transportation edition. I take no credit for the songs that are played, nor should I take the criticism. This one could be directed, the criticism, if there is any, to Waterloo Mayor Dorothy McCabe, who thought this would fit perfectly with Back to School, The Wheels on the Bus, by request from the Mayor of Waterloo on your All Request Friday.
Mayor Dorothy, thank you so much for making my Bobby McFerrin request look good.
It is the Modes of Transportation edition. Trish Mumby, small business consultant. Jane Mitchell, former regional councillor. And David Drew, owner, negotiating change. And he who requested Bobby McFerrin earlier and feels so much better about that now, thanks to Mayor Dorothy in Waterloo. They are in studio, David, Trish, and Jane, with our Friday 4 roundtable. Let's talk speed cameras. The region released data this week, and the stats the region says shows that these cameras are working. People are not only driving slower, but almost 80% of ticket recipients have had just only one ticket, which means they've learned their lesson with just that one ticket. Trish, I'll start with you. The region says the program is working. Is the program working for you?
Well, Mike, I have to confess, we asked your producer to put this on today because this is an intervention. You are obsessed with this topic. I have heard on the radio this week, you'll be talking about the Rangers, you'll be talking about the environment, you'll be talking about somehow you throw in speed cameras into every single topic.
Because Big Brother is watching.
It's a real
everywhere.
problem for you.
Okay,
and we're concerned. I'm concerned about your mental health and stability around this topic. Speed cameras. I'm pretty sure I got one on the way here.
Yeah, we're all speeders now, Trish.
I'm not a speeder. To me, it's about paying attention. I got off on Fisher Hellman by mistake because I don't come here that often, and I passed a school, and I was like, "Crap! I bet there's a speed camera here." I looked up; it was right there, because I wasn't paying attention. There are signs that say speed camera is coming up. To me, the sign alone is making me drive better. It's making me slow down. Today, I was not paying attention. I was flustered. I got off in the wrong exit. Don't know this area very well. And that is the problem with driving. You need to be paying attention. If you're not paying attention enough to read that sign that there's a camera coming and follow the law, maybe you should get a ticket. Like, it scared me. I actually was like, wow, I'm in front of a school, didn't even realize it. It's a problem. I do think speed cameras are worth it. I've heard all kinds of people call into your show this week talking about the cash grab. Well, I love grabbing cash from people that break the law. And I broke the law today. I'm probably getting a ticket.
How many students' lives did you put at risk by breaking the law today?
I don't want to think about it.
But did you see any of the students when you were watching for those signs?
I didn't see anything because I wasn't paying attention to my driving.
All right, fine.
That's the thing.
Go that way.
And the stats are showing it works. And you know what cities run on? Cash. They got to grab it from somewhere. My problem with this program, though, is the money is adding up to I think $6 million in 6 months. That's crazy.
And that's with 18 cameras. Wait till we get to 175 cameras.
So there should be some transparency about where that money is going, what it's actually costing. I heard you talking on the radio this week about them hiring 18 people to manage
33?
This. Good Lord.
There will be a department of 33, and that's just locally. Forget all the people where, whoever builds the camera, administrates all of this stuff. There's money going.
I looked into that. They're in Germany.
Yeah. Oh,
so I do think that
that's good for our economy.
We should be able to ask questions like, why isn't Myovision involved with this? Why are Canadian companies involved in this? Why does it take so many human beings? Although jobs are good too. And cities do run on cash, and we do need to be more conscious, awake drivers. We are too distracted by too many things. And there's a lot of things I would like to see cash grabbed from. People that don't shovel their driveway, people that don't stop at four-way stops, adults that bike on the driveway, on the sidewalks. It is very difficult to find enough people there to generate. You'd have to have human bylaw officers watching that all of the time. This is just easy. This is the easiest way. It's efficient to get people to slow down, change their habits, and get money into the coffers. I would like some more transparency about the money, though.
All right. Intervention noted, so I will say nothing further, because you're absolutely right. I've said plenty. Jane, you're a former regional councillor.
Yep.
Give these people, help them out here. Get them off this train of speed cameras. You would not allow this, would you?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, Jane.
Yeah, no, I don't mind the speed cameras. I'm fine. I got dinged when they were first out. Yeah, I was rushing.
You're a criminal, Jane
Mitchell.
I
was yes, but it was a mission of mercy. I was rushing to Laurelwood with my grandson's boots in the winter, and which were forgotten and didn't realize, and got there, and then the speed camera got me. But my concern is the City of Waterloo speed limits, because the 30 in a school zone, I just find it too slow 40 would work for me, and then 50. It used to be 50 around. Now it's 40 and 30. So when I'm going up to basics from my house and I go up the road past the schools, it's 30, and it's just so slow. And then you got 40, and it's so slow. And you just, when I was on the region, we used to talk about how when you build a road, there's a certain speed people want to go to it. So Beringer, they've just redone Beringer. When Beringer was clogged and only one lane each way, people went about 30, 40. But now it's 2 lanes, and people naturally want to go 60 or 70 or 80. They don't, but they do. Well, some do. And I think we need to look at other ways as well as speed cameras. Speed cameras are good. Yeah, they slow people down, but we also need the idea of narrowing roads so that people naturally feel they should be going slower. Speed bumps, which I'm not super thrilled about because they wreck your car and I'm not sure how effective they are. But other ideas besides just speed cameras, I think you've got to have more.
The consistency on limits is a great point. And go from Waterloo, turn off of Bluevale Road, where it's 30 by St. Agnes, onto Bridgeport Road, where it's 40 because of the French school. I went down Bridgeport where it's 40. The school is not even there anymore. It's under construction. Why is there a speed camera? What are you doing? It's ridiculous. I'm so frustrated by this, David.
This whole summer.
David Drew.
Governmentitis. It's so easy to put that 40 zone in place.
I got such a case of that.
Forget about it. I got a camera speeding ticket. It wasn't here locally. It was, I think, Essa Township. I was on my way from Sudbury back here. Now, well, I can't be grouchy about it. But the thing I've got to note about that was this was on a highway that passed through a small town.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I had the heavy foot. I deserve it. Yeah, okay. But I don't totally agree with Jane that I would go along with the idea of speed cameras. But speed cameras and 30 zones together, that's just, that's almost entrapment. That is scuzzy. I don't mind the idea of speed cameras, but how many did you say we're planning on having?
175 by 2028?
Yeah, exactly. I think, we're a little bit drunk on something here.
The money they get from it.
Yes, but also just the lazy, Trish called it easy, but I'm going to say the lazy way to say that you've made a difference.
Well, do you want them to hire 275 more bylaw officers? Like, what's more efficient? This is the efficient way.
Well, just because money, it's efficient, does that make it effective?
Yes.
People got ticketed once, so they're taking a different route where they can get away with speeding.
Or statistically, they're driving slower. The data said that came out this week.
But that would factor for people taking different routes. You just have the slow drivers left.
I think I like your point. I like the use of the word scuzzy. Like imagine on a Sunday morning on Weber Street in Kitchener getting a ticket for driving 43 kilometers an hour in a 30. Well, that's the 40 zone at Sunnyside, but that's scuzzy.
So there's a new stop sign on Union that I just noticed this week.
I blew right through it the first time I went there.
Okay, I did too.
I'm like, what is
this?
So
is that scuzzy? When they is that scuzzy that they just made up a new rule there?
To put a stop sign in?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they had a reason for it.
So why is it scuzzy to
It would be scuzzy if they put that new stop sign in and then had a stop sign camera to catch you guys as you went through it the first time. That's what would make it scuzzy.
No, it's we don't learn easily. We don't pay attention when we're driving, and we're terrible learners. That's what's happening here. And I meant, is it scuzzy to lower the speed limit? Like putting in a stop sign, lowering the speed limit. These are the consequences of our actions. We have a terrible, the data that came out this week was our driving is terrible. The number of accidents is up. The number of injuries from accidents, deaths, all up. Everyone needs to calm the hell down.
I don't know about that last piece. I know what the data, what the research they use is if you are hit by a vehicle when it's traveling 50 versus 40 versus 30, the outcomes are far worse the faster the vehicle is going. But we don't actually, this is one of my big beefs. There's no data that says people are being run down on these streets where we're arbitrarily lowering speed limits. That's the frustration for me.
Not where we are lowering, but generally, I believe was up. I looked
the injuries and
yeah.
collisions.
I would have a
With
concern.
The way the population's growing with new people, of course we're having more accidents on the same amount of roads. You just, by volume, you're going to expect it.
We're 700,000 strong now.
So
Anyway.
I have a concern where you're saying we should put the cameras everywhere for bicycles and other things in the street. That's just...
Well, those little scooters go 32 kilometers an hour.
But I don't like that much surveillance.
It's like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer Simpson became the safety guy, and it's like, warning, sign ahead.
Yeah,
that's just it. There's only so much you can add before there's so many of these signs you're supposed to look at for this, that, and the other thing, and this is just one more among the clutter. I love it in the outer townships where flashing lights. When the speed limit's in effect. So like you say, on a Sunday morning, or when the school's not even open because it's under construction, the lights don't flash. On the other hand, if the school's got an event going on or a soccer game going on, clickety-click, the lights can come on and they grab your attention because they're uncommon, as opposed to count the number of signs you pass as you go through intersections and how many different things you are supposed to pay attention to. And I'm sorry, the orange signs, they flash at you because they show you that there's something different to pay attention to from the usual. All these black on white or green on white signs, they're just another piece of thingamating. And I'm sorry, I'm only looking so much at signs because I'm watching for the kids to come out from between the parked cars.
So many issues, so many signs. You know what, Trish? I'm gonna take your feedback to heart, and I am not going to talk.
I love your passion.
I know.
I think we just need to implement the popsicle plan. You get 5 popsicles a day where you get to say speed camera, and once those 5 popsicles are gone,
I was gonna take a break completely from talking about.
No, I don't want to. I don't think that'll be too hard.
Okay,
5 popsicle sticks a day.
Appreciate you, Trish Mumby, Jane Mitchell, and David Drew with us on the Friday 4 Roundtable. We're going to talk community safety, violent crime as we continue this morning on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
All my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. I'm standing here outside your door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye, but the dawn is breaking, it's early morn. Taxi's waiting, he's blowing his horn. Already I'm so lonesome I could cry. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go.
Peter, Paul, and Mary. The jet plane is a mode of transportation, and it's your All Request Friday mode of transportation edition. Mark wanted to hear that one, and so he does. Friday 4 wraps up with one final, 4th topic. This one really struck me because Stephen Del Duca was making the comments, and Stephen Del Duca, before becoming the mayor of Vaughan, was the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. We've heard Premier Ford, Conservative, Pierre Poilievre, Conservative, talk about these very things. And to hear it from a Liberal just made me think that maybe the political lines, Jane Mitchell, are being blurred a little bit when it comes to community safety and our response to what we're seeing, violent home invasions, car thefts, carjackings, etc. Stephen Del Duca says, enough is enough. Something is fundamentally broken in our systems. Is it? Do we need reform in criminal justice?
Well, I think a reform is coming from the Liberal government. They said they were. But my concern when I listened to that and looked at that is I felt we were going back to our topic about Doug Ford, that this was once again one of these things where they're yelling about bail and saying they're letting them out the next day and, being really assertive and everything on what is a really serious topic. And so I went and I used AI Google and asked them, I said, are people being let out the next day with bail? And it said no. It said it depends. It depends on the crime. It depends on the judge. It depends on, often there isn't a judge or there isn't a lawyer. Sometimes people are there for 8 days. It's not a revolving door. And, so this was just a stunt. And I understand that they're trying to make people think that they're concerned, but this is a bigger issue than if people are getting out on bail, which apparently they don't seem to be, and we need to tweak things. But I think compared to the States, we're doing pretty well, but it's a problem. The one thing I noticed, though, was when they showed the home invasion in a Ring camera and the ones that came out again, that home had a barking dog, and if it was anything like our Sheltie mix, our German Shepherd mix, that dog was attacking. There was screaming. There was sirens going off. There was the police coming, and those guys went out. And that's basically, I think, what people that are vulnerable for that have to do, unfortunately.
This is the thing. Like, is that what I'm not going to put all that into my home. And my little Rosie doesn't even know how to bark, I don't think. Okay, David, your thoughts on this?
A couple times every week, you can find in the paper examples of people who were murdered in heinous crimes by somebody who was out on bail, who had an incredibly long record. I would not trust Google AI to tell me that this is not a problem. That said, when you get to the bottom of that Stephen Del Duca story, he's asked, so why do you think these people were out on bail when we don't know anything about them yet? And he's like, well, I have every reason to believe that they're out on bail. And that's where I really do agree with Jane, that there's a bit of a stunt here. You don't come out and call for the prescription before you have the diagnosis. I agree, this is a real problem. But then, again, I've used this example with you before. Every 2 years or so, the Toronto Star will go to the Toronto courthouse and cover people whose licenses are suspended or are permanently revoked, and then they follow them out and film them getting into their cars and driving home. Like, this is a problem at every level, and that's the problem is if you can get away with this minor stuff, you think you can get away with everything, and eventually we have a real problem.
We need bail cameras like speed cameras. Trish.
We absolutely have a huge problem, and everyone in the system will tell you that. We have far too many cases being thrown out because there aren't enough judges. The Jordan law, or whatever it's called, that, a provincial offends 18 months, 30 months for a Supreme Court case. They don't even keep track of how many, but hundreds and hundreds per year are being thrown out.
They don't keep track for a reason.
Because it's hideous. Many. Because criminals are just being, time ran out. Great, see ya. They can do whatever they want. And when they are all getting out on bail too early, going on parole too early. And do you think you're going to get a job on that? No, you're going to join a car theft ring. You're going to find a job. They'll hire you. They'll hire you, no problem. So the cycle is creating more criminals, and it's brutal. And it is not on me to have a dangerous dog and cameras and alarms and booby traps. I can't home alone my house. It's not happening. It's not what that's not what my tax dollars and my red light camera fees are going towards. It's ridiculous. Like what happened in Lindsay this summer, guy walks into your house with a crossbow and you can't defend yourself with a kitchen knife. I'm going to defend myself with something that's not going to be my Shih Tzu.
Can I just, Lindsay?
45 seconds.
The one thing about that story is we always say Lindsay, but I don't believe this guy was in downtown Lindsay.
Okay, wherever he was.
No, but
he was in Ontario.
Imagine it's a rural area where you don't have 2-minute police response times and these things are going on. These laws don't just apply in downtown Toronto. They apply in Moosonee. And if you don't have a police response coming, your self-defense needs to... Yeah, what are you going to do?
And what happened in Welland this week, a home invasion ended with a convicted rapist raping a toddler. He spent 18 months in jail for sexual assault and got out and went and did that. And you cannot, this is broken. Can you imagine, like, how does that family feel? This guy went to jail for 18 months as out on parole, and the parole system's going to keep him from offending again. There isn't enough rehabilitation. There isn't enough time. There aren't enough justice. It's all broken.
We'll leave it on that note. Couldn't agree more, but we're fresh out of time. We spent a lot of time on speed cameras today. Trish Mumby, David Drew, Jane Mitchell, thank you all for being here. Enjoy
Have
the
a great weekend.
Ahead. It's the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Only the names will change every time.
is the reference to a mode of transportation. The steel horse that John Bon Jovi rides in Dead or Alive. By request from Jay on this All Request Friday, Modes of Transportation edition. Let's get back to free phones, hear more from you. Gary is with us. Good afternoon, Gary.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right.
It sounds like you need a big hug or something.
That was a tough one. I just need the point. I need the point.
I totally get it. And you know what? I was just driving home from, my part-time job and getting ready to go to my full-time job. And I just was driving down the street and I was listening to it. And I thought for sure it was Jackwagon Jail coming for sure, or the eject button or something. But I applaud you for your patience. Dear Lord.
Oh, thanks, Gary. I don't know why I displayed a lot of it. I get that you want to say there have been this many drunk driving deaths and this many homicides in the entire state of Missouri, when before we were talking just about Kansas City, but that's okay. So you've got this many homicides and this many drunk driving deaths. Gotcha. And it takes how long to spit out those two numbers? But then what's the point of sharing the numbers? What are you trying to say? And I think what Paul was trying to say, and we eventually drilled it down to, we're not treating drunk driving as seriously as we are treating homicides, in Paul's opinion, using those statistics. Okay. Sean, you're on Free Phones Friday. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. If Paul doesn't think we're treating drunk driving as seriously as we're treating gun stuff, he should try it and see what happens to him. We treat drunk driving very seriously in Ontario. Anyway, I forwarded you an email with actual statistics. Anyway, you see, the difference is that with drunk driving, I can drink, I can have a vehicle, but I can choose not to drink and drive. I can have a glass of wine or a bottle of beer, and I can leave my car in the driveway and not drive it. Now, with the gun control, I have had this discussion with gun people before. It's like a cult. You cannot have a sensible conversation. It's like you don't want to take away their guns. You just want to keep the weapons out of the hands of the crazies and the criminals and the demented. You cannot discuss it with them. It's craziness.
Sean, I appreciate the call. And listen, I understand if you are a firearms enthusiast, how you feel hard done by when these laws are brought to bear. I do. I feel I'm not a firearms enthusiast myself, but I get it. I do. And I might also say, if you have a firearm, you have the choice, much like Sean described, you can drink and you have a vehicle. You have a choice whether or not you drink and drive. Well, you have a firearm. You're a registered owner. You have a choice as to how you use that firearm. And legally registered firearms owners, by and large, use those firearms very responsibly. Free Phones Friday continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
The machine of a dream, such a clean machine, with the pistons a pumping and the hubcaps all green. When I'm holding your wheel, all I hear is your gear. With my hand on your grease gun, it's like a disease, son.
I'm in love with my car. Queen, by request from Terry on this All Request Friday, Modes of Transportation edition. As we continue Free Phones Friday, open phone lines where you can share your thoughts on the show. Right back to the phones we go. They're busy today. JB, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Farwell. It's been a bit. I'm sorry, but I wanted to offer a late congratulations on the engagement.
Well, thank you very much. You're very late. I'm practically married already.
I know. It's been a bit. I just haven't had a moment where I've been compelled to call in.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for the well wishes.
Yeah, no worries. And then today happened, and I just thought maybe it's a good idea if you guys either implement a number of times per show and or a timer for Paul so that the show can move on a little bit more efficiently and we don't have to sit here stressing out about, okay, get to the point. Because it's a little hard to listen to time to time.
Listen, I appreciate that. And I respect that it is not easy to talk on the radio, especially if you don't do it every day. Although Paul is a regular caller. And Kathy reminded me right off the bat this morning when she called that I do tend to ramble. So I am very cognizant of that. And in fact, we have tried in the past because this is Paul talks a lot. And we had implemented years ago a timer on him of, I believe we went 90 seconds. We might have gone as long as 2 minutes. And then it just seems cruel and unkind. And I don't want to be that way. And I don't want to get into arguments either and raise my voice. I got very frustrated today. And I promise you this. When these things are happening in real time on the show, I'm thinking about your experience as a listener. And I want you to enjoy your time with us. I want us to have conversations and share ideas and get points across. I do wish and or hope, though, we could get those points across more effectively. All of us, and that includes me. And we're going to keep working on that, and we'll keep having the conversations. Rory, good afternoon. You're on Free Phones Friday. Hey,
how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Hey, I missed you this morning. I was going to call in and say I get scolded by my wife 21 times a week. So
on average,
that was...
On average, this happens to us 21 times a week. Yeah, it was craving junk food was the answer, but getting scolded by your beloved, Rory. I know you a little bit. I think she's got a point.
Yes. I haven't really called in about this issue, Mike. Obviously crime and some of the stories that have come to the forefront as of late. I've kind of thought to myself that reaction from our law enforcement, I know Doug Ford obviously has spoken out strongly about it, but I almost feel like the reaction from law enforcement and police has almost carried a defeatist undertone, Mike. And, you hear the messaging in the United States from law enforcement. I'm not suggesting we get to that level, but it's tough talk. It's about protecting yourself and your family above all else. And it's to hold criminals accountable. And I kind of believe the messaging from Canadian law enforcement seems to be comply with the criminal, give them whatever they want, and don't take things into your own hands. And I'm just kind of wondering if messaging from the police doesn't help reinforce, that criminals will be caught and criminals will be held accountable. And if need be, people have the ability to protect themselves and their families from some of the things that have come out in the news recently. And, I support the police 100%. And ultimately, it would be ideal to call 911 and have the police show up in a fashion that enables them to handle the situation. Some of the stories that come out recently, it just makes you shake your head and wonder if, taking things into your own hands really is the only thing that one could do at that moment in time. So that's the way I'm kind of feeling about the messaging these days, Mike.
All right, Rory. Appreciate that call. And I don't think you're alone in that. And I have concerns on both ends. I don't know that taking these issues into our own hands is the best approach for myriad reasons, but I certainly understand why. And then on the other end of that spectrum, I'm asking myself, what's leading to this? How desperate might people be that crime is the solution? But there does seem to be this great big mushy middle in all of this where the sense clearly seems to be that there is not a lot in the way of consequence for committing the criminal acts. And that's where we're struggling. And the reasons for that are also wide and varied. So it's tough. And I get Rory's sentiment big time. Grant, you're on Free Phones. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Someone mentioned this to me today. I didn't know this ever happened. Miss Morgana, the kissing bandit. I think that's hilarious. I think they should I think she should go to the New York Yankees game tonight and give the Yankees pitcher a big kiss. Eh?
Great idea, Grant. That takes me back. It had to be the 80s, right? I wanted to say 70s, but I would have been a little bit too young, I think, to remember Miss Morgana, who would, yes, trot onto fields of play and plant big wet kisses on cheeks or whatever she was doing. Anything that can distract the Yankees from beating the Blue Jays tonight, I'm all for it, Grant. So you're on the right track there. Kyle, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. I want to go to also the home, like the defending of your house. I don't think that there's an issue with defending your own home. I think the issue is how vague the law is. If somebody breaks into my home and I'm defending my house, you know who the first person I'm going to call after I tie that guy up is? It's not the police. It's my lawyer, because I have to figure out what my rights are before I go and have to go.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Because but Mike, come on, seriously. If I defend my house and I'm getting arrested or being charged by the police, I have to go get a lawyer to represent me, because now the Crown is going to be representing the guy that just broke into my home. So that's what they say. They say if you get arrested, what's the first thing you do? The first thing you do is you remain silent and you contact your lawyer or the person that's going to represent you, and that's what you're supposed to do. So that's the law is very vague. It says, well, it's up to reasonable force. What is reasonable force?
Well, I think if you've got the guy
with a crossbow, then what am I going to use? A knife, and that's going to be too much because the guy's going to shoot me with a crossbow.
I think if you got the guy tied up, you did a pretty good job already. Right,
but then I still could probably get charged because now I did something, right? There's always going to that's the thing. It's a vague thing, and that's the problem I have is when a homeowner is being charged to defend their house. I'm not going to sit at my house and give the guy a beer and say, here, buddy, take whatever you want. What do you want? Do you want a Canadian? Well, it's in the fridge. What else do you want? Do you want my TV? Like, I'm not going to do that. It's my house. It's my property. I should be able to defend myself and defend people that are living in my house when somebody breaks into my house, Mike.
You are allowed to. Yes. You are allowed to.
But what am I going to do? The law is vague. That's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Kyle. I love how twisted up we are about this. I really like it. The law is reasonable, and I can't recall, but I don't think there's been a time, even though charges have been laid, that the person being invaded in a home invasion has ultimately been convicted of anything. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know. Andre, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. I'm going to start from the end. I'm wishing you a fantastic weekend to you and your wife. Go Rangers. Keep thinking about them every day. I really like the transparency of Tracy, I think it was this morning, who admitted she goes higher than the speed limit. And she admitted, and with the Ford panel, David Drew also said that he's got a heavy foot, like a lot of people. But they're getting the wrong people, and that's the message I'm trying to say here is, like the guns, the speeding, and they're getting the wrong people. And it's like you said, it's a cash grab. I'm very afraid, Mike, that because people are very responsible and mature and all that stuff, and that you will eat your shoe, I think, Mike. Have a great one.
Thanks, Andre. I did say if we ended up with 175 speed cameras in this community by 2028, I would eat my shoe. I still remain confident that you will help me make this an election issue next October when we have a municipal election, and this region will back off on the 175 camera idea. But I could be wrong, and maybe I'll be eating my shoe in 2028. We'll see. Prina, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. All of these people calling for there ought to be a law and demanding more and more laws, by their very nature, law-abiding citizens will abide by the law, and those who have a tendency to break the law are going to go ahead and break the law regardless. So it's all about enforcement, I think. Don't you?
I think you're onto something there, Prina, and I appreciate that perspective on it. It does come down to enforcement. Paul sent me an email earlier this week when we were talking about red light cameras, red light right turns on red lights. Spit it out, Farwell. And he said, what if we just created a law that said you have to come to a stop at the red light, check the way before proceeding with your right-hand turn, and then make the turn? And I got his point. Like, that is the law, if only it was being enforced or we actually followed the law. To your point, Prina, about law-abiding citizens, this is the part where it gets difficult because I am that person. And I feel as though I'm being treated not only like a child, but like a criminal in so many ways just because I, for example, drive a car. Right? Like it, and I'm having a hard time with it. Like I follow the letter of the law. I do. I try to be nice to people. And my beloved was teasing me the other day when we were out for a walk with Rosie the pandemic pup together, and she said, "You really are State Farm, aren't you?" And I'm like, "What does that mean?" Remember the slogan? Oh, like a good neighbor. I say hi to everybody. I wave. I say hi. I'm trying to, insert kindness into everybody's day, except Paul's when I yelled at him earlier on this show. But you're doing the right thing. You're following the rules. You're paying your taxes. You're contributing back. And then every time you turn around, it feels like your municipal government is putting more pressure on you for this, that, or the other thing. They take away. You might lose the privilege of turning right at red lights. I know that's a small thing, but there are lots of other things. It just feels like you're getting squeezed. If you're the law-abiding citizen, that's part of the other enforcement, absolutely. But what about squeezing the people who are breaking the law? And ding dang it, if I get a ticket for doing 43 and a 30, hoo-wee, I'm going to raise some holy hell. This is the Mike Farwell Show. Free Phones Friday continues. 570 News Radio, Rogers TV.
In the town where I was born lived a man who sailed to sea, and he told us of his life in the land of submarines. So we sailed onto the sun till we found the sea of green, and we lived beneath the waves in our yellow submarine.
We covered a lot of modes of transportation today on this All Request Friday Modes of Transportation edition. From rockets with Elton John's Rocket Man to submarines with the Beatles. And that by request from Marianne on your All Request Friday. Free Phones Friday continues. Back to the phones we go. Greg, good afternoon.
Hey, Mike, I'm late to the show. Did anybody choose Bad Motor Scooter?
It doesn't matter, Greg. We're out of time, but we didn't get that one. We're out of time for requests. No more time for requests today.
No, I heard that, yeah. So I was just wondering if somebody else stole my...
No, we didn't get Scooter in there today.
Okay. Just comment on a couple of the hot topics. Okay, the speed cameras. You're talking about the next election would be a great platform. Would probably get them. What about the morons that are on there now? Are they not hearing this? And can they not change things now based on the cry?
Sure, they could. Sure, they could.
Well, then, has anybody sort of prompted them to? Why does it take the next whole set? I'm just wondering.
Well, because then their job is on the line, right? If they want to keep the job, maybe they'll reverse course. Right now, there's no motivation for it.
Okay, so they don't want to get reelected then. Okay, well, I just wonder why do we got to wait? Why can't somebody act now if there's such a majority saying this system's wrong? So, anyways, okay, that was just, like I say, I'm just wondering that. And secondly, who is it that wants the red, Right on Red band?
Councillor Colleen James is bringing that forward. Not for every intersection, but looking at it for some intersections.
Okay, but now, has she ever equated that to a stop sign? Picture yourself going up to a stop sign. I want to turn right. What do? You do exactly what you got to do on a red light to turn right. So in other words, you shouldn't be able to turn right at any stop sign. Think of it. It's equivalent. You go up, you stop, you look.
I guess.
That stop sign is still red, but there's nobody around you. You proceed with your right turn or the stop sign, whether you want to go the other direction.
I guess the difference would be, Greg, there aren't many stop signs at really busy intersections like, say, Weber and University.
Okay, well.
Signalized intersections, as you know, because you drive a lot, signalized intersections are much different than intersections where there are just stop and or yield signs. A lot more traffic, right? Bigger intersections, a lot more things going on.
Okay, well, I guess I'd be curious to see how many does she have in mind then, because really...
Well, and they're creating a report on it. It'll come back sometime soon, and we'll find out.
It's a stop sign, and a stop sign, you can turn right.
I got you. And by the letter of the law, I kind of love where you're going with that, because it's true, right? If you can't turn right when you're facing a red light, why can you turn right facing a stop sign? But again, I think that we recognize that those intersections are far different. Heather, good afternoon. Free Phones Friday, over to you.
Yes. You said that the federal government pays, what, $72 billion to pay the federal employees?
71, but yes, a whole lot of billions of dollars to pay the salaries and benefits to 440,000 federal employees.
Okay. Then why are we worried about $4 million then for our LRT? Let's just...
$4 billion, Heather.
$4 billion for our LRT?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just get it done.
Okay.
Is my opinion.
All right. Yeah, listen, fair enough. Get the LRT Phase 2 done for $4.3 billion. That's only less than in and around 6 or 7% of what you're paying the federal government employees. Cool. Sure. James, good afternoon.
They said, yep. Hi, how are you, Mike?
Good, thanks.
Good. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We certainly enjoy listening to you on the radio with the Rangers, but then we're usually at the game, so we only hear you after the Ranger game. But anyhow.
Well, as long as you're supporting the team, I love it.
Oh, yes. We support the team. April and I are great fans.
Good.
She's here, too. So, I'm calling because a couple weeks ago, my niece, who's a wonderful young lady, was going past a school zone, and the speed limit was 30. She was going 43 at 11 o'clock at night, and she got a ticket in the mail.
Yeah. You know what, James? This is the stuff, and I'm going to run out of time, so I'm going to let you go there, and I'm sorry I have to, but this... You're speaking directly to my soul with this. I'm going to say it again, as loud as I possibly can. That is not the speeder you're looking for. 11 o'clock at night, because you're in a school zone, when there is not a soul around that school, and you're going to keep a 30 kilometer per hour limit and ticket somebody for the sin of driving 43. Come on with your coming on. I got to go. Rob Snow, and Now You Know, coming up. He'll take you through till 3, then all news afternoons. I really hope you enjoy your weekend ahead. And hey, come on back Monday morning at 9. We'll chat, okay? My name is Mike Farwell. You're a force for good. Bye for now.